Hi. Welcome to the History House. I'm Arma Saeed and you are watching the History of the 15th of October on your favorite The History House YouTube channel. Please like this video and subscribe the channel for the importance of the day, success stories as well as the failure stories around the world on daily basis. October 15th is the 288th day of the year, 289th in leap years, in the Gregorian calendar. 77 days remain until the end of the year. 1066 Following the death of Harold II at the Battle of Hastings, is proclaimed King of England by the Witan. He is never crowned, and concedes power to William the Conqueror 2 months later. 1529 The Siege of Vienna ends when Austria routs the invading Ottoman forces, ending its European expansion. The Siege of Vienna in 1529 was the first attempt by the Ottoman Empire, led by Suleiman the Magnificent, to capture the city of Vienna, Austria. The siege came in the aftermath of the 1526 Battle of Mohawks, which had resulted in the death of the King of Hungary and the descent of the kingdom into civil war, with rival factions supporting the Habsburg Archduke Ferdinand I of Austria and others supporting the Ottoman-backed John Zápolya. 1582 Adoption of the Gregorian calendar begins, eventually leading to near-universal adoption. The adoption of the Gregorian calendar was an event in the modern history of most cultures and societies, marking a change from their traditional or old-style dating system to the modern or new-style dating system that is widely used around the world today. Some states adopted the new calendar from 1582, some did not do so before the early 20th century, and others did so at various dates between. However, a number continue to use a different civil calendar. For many, the new style calendar is only used for civil purposes and the old style calendar remains used in religious contexts. Today, the Gregorian calendar is the world's most widely used civil calendars during, and for some time after, the change between systems. It has been common to use the terms Old Style and New Style when giving dates, to indicate which calendar was used to reckon them. 1783 The Montgolfier brothers' hot air balloon makes the first human ascent, piloted by Jean-François Pilatre de Rosier. Joseph Michel Montgolfier, the 26th of August 1740 to the 26th of June 1810, and Jacques-Étienne Montgolfier, the 6th of January 1745 to the 2nd of August 1799, were paper manufacturers from Annonay, in Ardèche, France, best known as inventors of the Montgolfier-style hot air balloon, Globe Aerostatique. They launched the first piloted ascent, carrying Jacques-Étienne. Joseph Michel also invented the self-acting hydraulic ram. 1796, Jacques-Étienne founded the first paper-making vocational school and the brothers invented a process to manufacture transparent paper. 1793 Queen Marie Antoinette of France is tried and convicted of treason. Marie Antoinette, born Maria Antonia Josepha Johanna, the 2nd of November 1755 to the 16th of October 1793, was the last queen of France before the French Revolution. She was born an Archduchess of Austria and was the penultimate child and youngest daughter of Empress Maria Theresa and Emperor Francis I. She became Dauphine of France in May 1770 at age 14 upon her marriage to Louis Auguste, heir apparent to the French throne. On 10 May 1774, her husband ascended the throne as Louis XVI and she became queen. 1815 Napoleon begins his exile on St. Helena in the South Atlantic Ocean. Napoleon Bonaparte, by name Le Corse, the Corsican, or Le Petit Caporal, the Little Corporal, was a French statesman and military leader who became notorious as an artillery commander during the French Revolution. He led many successful campaigns during the French Revolutionary Wars and was Emperor of the French as Napoleon I from 1804 until 1814 and again briefly in 1815 during the Hundred Days. Napoleon dominated European and global affairs for more than a decade while leading France against a series of coalitions during the Napoleonic Wars. He won many of these wars and a vast majority of his battles, building a large empire that ruled over much of continental Europe before its final collapse in 1815. Napoleon is regarded as one of the greatest military commanders in history, and his wars and campaigns are studied at military schools worldwide. 1863 American Civil War, the H.L. Hunley, the first submarine to sink a ship, sinks, killing its inventor. H. L. Hunley, often referred to as Hunley or, erroneously, as CSS Hunley, was a submarine of the Confederate States of America that played a small part in the American Civil War. Hunley demonstrated the advantages and the dangers of undersea warfare. She was the first combat submarine to sink a warship, USS Housatonic, although Hunley was not completely submerged and, following her successful attack, was lost along with her crew before she could return to base. 1878 – The Edison Electric Light Company begins operation. General Electric Company (GE) is an American multinational conglomerate incorporated in New York City and headquartered in Boston. As of 2018, the company operates through the following segments: aviation, healthcare, power, renewable energy, digital industry, additive manufacturing and venture capital and finance. 1910 Airship America is launched from New Jersey in the first attempt to cross the Atlantic by a powered aircraft. The America was a non-rigid airship built by Mouton Goddard in France in 1906 for the journalist Walter Wellman's attempt to reach the North Pole by air. Wellman first conceived of using a balloon to fly to the pole during a failed polar attempt by boat and sledge from Svalbard in 1894. He then visited Paris to review the state of balloon technology but left disappointed by the lack of acceptable steering and propulsion capability. A decade later, while at the 1905 Portsmouth Peace Conference, he learned of recent innovations in French dirigible design and believed a solution might be at hand for his Arctic aerial plan. After receiving the backing of newspaper publisher Victor F. Lawson, the Wellman-Chicago Record Herald Polar Expedition was announced, and Wellman traveled to Paris in search of a suitable design and manufacturer. 1932 Tata Airlines, later to become Air India, makes its first flight. The airline was founded by J.R.D. Tata as Tata Airlines in 1932. Tata himself flew its first single-engine de Havilland Puss Moth, carrying air mail from Karachi's Drig Road Aerodrome to Bombay's Juhu Aerodrome and later continuing to Madras, currently Chennai. After World War II, it became a public limited company and was renamed as Air India. On 21 February 1960, it took delivery of its first Boeing 707 named Gauri Shankar and became the first Asian airline to induct a jet aircraft in its fleet. In 2001, attempts were made to privatize Air India, and from 2006 onwards, it suffered losses after its merger with Indian Airlines. 1954 Hurricane Hazel devastates the eastern seaboard of North America, killing 95 and causing massive floods as far north as Toronto. Hurricane Hazel was the deadliest, costliest, and most intense hurricane of the 1954 Atlantic hurricane season. The storm killed at least 469 people in Haiti before striking the United States near the border between North and South Carolina as a Category 4 hurricane. After causing 95 fatalities in the U.S., Hazel struck Canada as an extratropical storm, raising the death toll by 81 people, mostly in Toronto. 1956 Fortran, the first modern computer language, is first shared with the coding community. Fortran is a general-purpose, compiled imperative programming language that is especially suited to numeric computation and scientific computing. Originally developed by IBM in the 1950s for scientific and engineering applications, Fortran came to subsequently dominate scientific computing. It is a popular language for high-performance computing and is used for programs that benchmark and rank the world's fastest supercomputers. 1989 Wayne Gretzky becomes the all-time leading points scorer in the NHL. Wayne Douglas Gretzky CC is a Canadian former professional ice hockey player and former head coach. He played 20 seasons in the National Hockey League (NHL) for 4 teams from 1979 to 1999. Nicknamed the Great One, he has been called the greatest hockey player ever by many sportswriters, players, and the NHL itself. Gretzky is the leading scorer in NHL history, with more goals and assists than any other player. In addition, Gretzky tallied over 100 points in 16 professional seasons, 14 of them consecutive. At the time of his retirement in 1999, he held 61 NHL records, 40 regular season records, 15 playoff records, and 6 All-Star records. 1990 Soviet Union leader Mikhail Gorbachev is awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for his efforts to lessen Cold War tensions and open up his nation. Mikhail Sergeyevich Gorbachev, born the 2nd of March 1931, is a Russian and former Soviet politician. The eighth and last leader of the Soviet Union, he was the General Secretary of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union from 1985 until 1991. He was also the country's head of state from 1988 until 1991, serving as the chairman of the Presidium of the Supreme Soviet from 1988 to 1989, chairman of the Supreme Soviet from 1989 to 1990, and president of the Soviet Union from 1990 to 1991. Ideologically, he initially adhered to Marxism-Leninism, although by the early 1990s had moved towards social democracy. 1994 – The Clinton administration returns Haiti's first democratically elected president, Jean-Bertrand Aristide, to the island. Jean-Bertrand Aristide, born 15 July 1953, is a former Haitian priest and politician who became Haiti's first democratically elected president. A proponent of liberation theology, Aristide was appointed to a Roman Catholic parish in Port-au-Prince in 1982 after completing his studies to become a priest of the Salesian order. He won the Haitian general election between 1990 and 1991, with 67% of the vote. As a priest, he taught liberation theology and, as a president, he attempted to normalize Afro-Creole culture, including Vodou religion, in Haiti. 1995 – Saddam Hussein is re-elected president of Iraq through a referendum. Saddam Hussein was the fifth president of Iraq from 16 July 1979 until 9 April 2003. A leading member of the revolutionary Arab Socialist Ba'ath Party, and later, the Baghdad-based Ba'ath Party and its regional organization, the Iraqi Ba'ath Party, which espoused Ba'athism, a mix of Arab nationalism and socialism. Saddam played a key role in the 1968 coup, later referred to as the 17th of July Revolution, that brought the party to power in Iraq. 2001 NASA's Galileo spacecraft passes within 112 miles of Jupiter's moon Io. Galileo was an American automatic space probe that studied the planet Jupiter and its moons, as well as several other solar system bodies. Named after the Italian astronomer Galileo Galilei, it consisted of an orbiter and an entry probe. It was delivered into Earth orbit on August 18, 1990 by Space Shuttle Atlantis. Galileo arrived at Jupiter on December 7, 1995, after gravitational assist flybys of Venus and Earth, and became the first spacecraft to orbit Jupiter. It launched the first probe into Jupiter, directly measuring its atmosphere. Despite suffering major antenna problems, Galileo achieved the first asteroid flyby, of 951 Gaspra, and discovered the first asteroid moon, Dactyl, around 243 Ida. In 1994, Galileo observed comet Shoemaker-Levy 9's collision with Jupiter. 2003 China launches Shenzhou 5, its first manned space mission. Shenzhou 5 was the first human spaceflight mission of the Chinese space program, launched on 15 October 2003. The Shenzhou spacecraft was launched on a Long March 2F launch vehicle. There had been 4 previous flights of uncrewed Shenzhou missions since 1999. China became the third country in the world to have independent human spaceflight capability after the Soviet Union, later, Russia, and the United States. 2011 – The 2011 global protests occur. The 15th of October 2011 global protests were part of a series of protests inspired by the Arab Spring, the Icelandic protests, the Portuguese Geração à Rasca, the Spanish indignance, the Greek protests, and the Occupy movement. The protests were launched under the slogan, United for #Global Change, to which the slogan, United for Global Democracy, was added by many people's assemblies. The protest was first called for by the Spanish Plataforma Democracia Real Ya. In May 2011 and endorsed by people's assemblies across the world. 2013 – The 7.2 MW Bohol earthquake strikes the Philippines. At least 215 die. The 2013 Bohol earthquake occurred on October 15 at 8 hours 12 minutes and 31 seconds Pacific Standard Time in Bohol, an island province located in central Visayas, Philippines. The magnitude of the earthquake was recorded at MW 7.2, with epicenter 6 km (3.7 miles) s 24 degrees west of Sagbayan, and its depth of focus was 12 km (7.5 miles). The earthquake was felt in the whole Visayas area and as far as Masbate Island in the north and Cotabato provinces in southern Mindanao. According to official reports by the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council (NDRRMC), 222 were reported dead, 8 were missing, and 976 people were injured. 2016 197 nations amend the Montreal Protocol to include a phase-out of hydrofluorocarbons. The Montreal Protocol on Substances that Deplete the Ozone Layer, also known simply as the Montreal Protocol, is an international treaty designed to protect the ozone layer by phasing out the production of numerous substances that are responsible for ozone depletion. Signed 26 August 1987, it was made pursuant to the 1985 Vienna Convention for the Protection of the Ozone Layer, which established the framework for international cooperation in addressing ozone depletion. The Montreal Protocol entered into force on 26 August 1989, and has since undergone 9 revisions, in 1990, London, 1991, Nairobi, 1992, Copenhagen, 1993, Bangkok, 1995, Vienna, 1997, Montreal, 1998, Australia, 1999, Beijing, and 2016, Kigali. Thanks a lot for watching the History House YouTube channel. Please like this video and subscribe the channel for latest stories on daily basis.